The Auditor-General provides assurance to Parliament on the accountability and performance of the Victorian public sector. The Auditor-General conducts financial audits and performance audits and reports on the results of these audits to Parliament. On the 27th of November 2013, the Victorian Auditor-General tabled the audit report on Whole of Victorian Government Information Security Management Framework. Information security is critical to ensuring the confidentiality, integrity and availability of public sector data. Information and Communications Technology, or ICT, is now fundamental to nearly all service delivery and internal management by the public sector and government. ICT systems have inherent and significant security risks. Breaches to these systems can be caused by software, hardware and/or people. There have been unprecedented cyber threats to information security around the world for both public and private sector ICT. According to the Cybersecurity Operations Centre, between January and June 2013, there were approximately 40 cybersecurity incidents affecting state and territory governments. The Victorian and West Australian state governments accounted for the highest proportion. This audit focused on whether information security policy and standards have been appropriately implemented across whole of Victorian government agencies and whether agency ICT systems were capable of resisting cyber attacks and protecting public sector information. To assess the effectiveness of the state's ICT security policy, standards and protection mechanisms, this audit focused on several objectives. Whether appropriate information security policy direction and guidance was in place to provide consistent protection to state ICT systems and data, whether central agencies had oversight of and coordinated responses to information and system threats, whether selected agencies had established and complied with information security policy and standards. This audit examined 11 agencies across the Victorian public sector, as listed on this slide. 7 agencies were inner agencies, defined in the Department of State Development, Business and Innovation Information Security Procedures as Whole of Victorian Government. 4 agencies were outer agencies, defined in the procedures as non-Whole of Victorian Government. While the content of the information security policy and standards is appropriate, it only applies to the 20 inner agencies. These policy and standards should also apply to outer agencies operating ICT systems that are critical to state revenue, public safety, or hold sensitive personal data. This was a recommendation made by a previous Auditor-General's report in 2009, which was accepted by the Department of Treasury and Finance and the Department of Premier and Cabinet, but not implemented. Further recommendations in the 2009 audit report were the impetus for the Department of Treasury and Finance in developing a suite of Victorian information security policy and standards informed by existing Australian government standards and released in late 2012. The standards require inner agencies to develop their own information security management framework. This includes annual reporting on the status of information security within the agency and an assessment of its ability to withstand a cyber attack. Individual agency frameworks were reasonably well developed, but their annual reports were unsatisfactory and did not reflect a credible and realistic threat, partly because the report template was not exhaustive. We also found that there is no central view of the overall Victorian cyber threat situation, nor are there arrangements in place to brief government in the event of a multi-agency or sustained cyber attack. Previously, the Department of Premier and Cabinet advised that it did not have a role in coordinating a whole-of-government approach to cyber threats. However, it has subsequently advised that this position will change with the Emergency Management Bill introduced to Parliament in October 2013. The bill confirms the establishment of the State Crisis and Resilience Council, which was formed in April 2013 in anticipation of the bill passing. Membership of the Council comprises all departmental secretaries and is chaired by the Secretary of the Department of Premier and Cabinet, and it recommends briefings for ministers as appropriate. Overall, awareness of how ICT systems would perform while under cyber attack was unsatisfactory. Closer central agency involvement is critical in managing this knowledge gap. The Victorian Government's information security standards require inner agencies to implement the Australian Signals Directorate's top 4 strategies to mitigate targeted cyber intrusions, which are likely to prevent at least 85% of attacks. We found that all 4 strategies were poorly implemented within both the inner and outer agencies examined. All agencies had undertaken penetration testing of their ICT systems, but there was little evidence that they tested all of their systems, and there were multiple instances of testing being too narrowly scoped. Vargo appointed an independent specialist information security advisor to assist in reviewing whether the information security policy standards and processes that agencies have in place comply with government standards. The advisor also conducted internal and external penetration testing of selected agency ICT systems. Most commonly, it was found that agencies did not maintain software patches adequately and continued to operate unsupported and therefore vulnerable systems. Many of the detailed findings arising from fieldwork for this audit are sensitive to the security of public sector ICT systems, and it is therefore not in the public interest to include them in the report. However, to make sure that agencies take appropriate steps to address observed weaknesses and breaches, the Auditor-General has issued management letters to each agency. The letters set out recommended actions and seek a response indicating their acceptance, as well as intended remediation actions and timeframes. This audit has identified 58 significant information security issues, which are categorised as follows. Critical level, of which there are 9 issues in 3 agencies. Medium level, of which there are 49 issues in 6 agencies. The Auditor-General will periodically examine whether these issues are being remediated and may report to Parliament at a later date on progress. The report made 16 recommendations for both central departments and agencies across the public sector. The Department of State Development, Business and Innovation should send the Information Security Management Policy to Government for formal consideration. The Department should mandate information security policy and standards across public sector agencies where the consequences of security failure are significant for the state. Departments and agencies should improve their annual Information Security Management Framework self-assessment report. The Departments of Premier and Cabinet and State Development, Business and Innovation should confirm their respective roles and responsibilities for information security, including cyber threat briefings. The Department of State Development, Business and Innovation should arrange a cyber alert subscription service for every government agency. The department should also develop and maintain a register of all public sector IP addresses. Departments and agencies should take appropriate action to maintain the accuracy of their IP address information. All public sector agencies should comply with information security policy, standards and process requirements. All our reports are available on our website. If you have any questions about this or other reports, or if you have anything else you would like to discuss with us, including ideas for future audit topics, please call us on 03 8601 7000 or contact us via our website.